Don McCullin is the world's greatest living photographer. Of course, that's my opinion, but for me, there's no one that's influenced my photography right from the beginning. I'm not a fan of idolising other photographers or celebrities, and the greatest and best doesn't really fit the arts world, really, I don't think. It's undeniable that he's lived an incredible life, from the streets of London in Finsbury Park to travelling the world and all the conflicts and all the atrocious, incredible things he's seen throughout his life. Most interesting to me is his retrospective, his reflection now at the age of 87, looking back at his life and all the things he's experienced as a photographer, as a human being, how he's haunted by the things he's seen and experienced, and has his photography as a photojournalist made any difference? In this video I'll attempt to draw all the highlights of his life and how it's influenced me.
The first execution I ever saw in my life grabbed a tuft of his hair and shot him through the brains. And I stood there with my mouth wide open and I heard a man saying, "God, that was great stuff. Did you get it? Did you get it?" And I've never forgotten to this day, and that was in 1965. And I didn't get it. But looking back, did I have the right to take that man's picture of his murder?
There's a documentary called McCullin, which I keep on referring to, and it's the most powerful, incredible documentary I've ever seen. I watch it at least once a year, and it is brutally horrible to watch sometimes, but it's so powerful. Nothing else affects me like this documentary. So like Henri Cartier-Bresson, he started out as an artist, but decided to go on to photography. He grew up in a really rough area of London called Finsbury Park, and he knew a gang there, and his first real feature was taking a picture of these gang members who wore suits at the time, and that got him his first publication. But to survive and kind of exist in that area, in that kind of life, he had to be really robust and strong and not back down from anything and be a go-getter. And I think that's really his first steps, and it's carried throughout his whole career of going to get that job, that project, to put everything into it and not hold back at all. And that's something I first admire about him.
I didn't have any education, I couldn't read properly. I came from a violent background where people were mostly interested in how well you could fight or steal or do harm to society. So quite honestly, having this amazing door opening, it was amazing I managed to escape from Finsbury Park.
So his first project abroad, which was incredible, that he didn't get any commission to go. And the Berlin Wall at the time was just being put up, and he said, "I want to go there," and so he went. Without commission, without any backing, just with him and his camera. I mean, the photos he took will be part of history. So from the back of that project, his first commission was in Cyprus in 1964, and he also won a World Press Award for that, for his efforts too.
And then they were coming back to the village and telling the women that their husbands had been killed, and then you saw these Goya-esque kind of poses of people looking up to Christ, or I've noticed that a lot in wars, that when people are in deep grief and emotion, they look up as if they can see God himself there, offering them some help.
For the Sunday Times he covered wars in Congo, Barifa, Uganda, Chad, Vietnam, Cambodia, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Iran, Afghanistan and Northern Ireland. So he became a bit of a war junkie. Every conflict he was there. He wanted to go, and in some clips of historical archive he was quite arrogant with that.
I think I've come back happy. They know that I've got something ghastly to show, even though I like being in the war and I like being there because it's a great adventure for me. My duty is to be there for a reason, not just to have a bloody good time.
In Cambodia, one of the most dangerous places he went to, he's actually shot and badly wounded. He actually used a Nikon film camera, and that saved his life. Nikon saved his life. One of the bullets or shrapnel went directly into the camera and saved him from getting even more, a deadly shot probably. And all my past seemed to come before me. I thought, this is it, I'm going to die.
So I crawled away for about 200 yards only to be put on the back of a truck having been stabbed with a morphine injection.
And throughout his life, even as in October 2018, he travelled to Libya to compare the photos that he took decades before, to compare it to the damage that ISIS has done. And you can see from the clips that he's in how excited and vigorous and how young he is with his camera, and that's kept him young. We must not be allowed to forget the appalling things that we are all capable of doing to our fellow human beings. I mean, how would you be able to deal with those situations? Would you want or be able to deal with the horrible scenes that he's witnessed in front of him, from deaths, mutilation, child starvation, just the most gruesome, horrific, hellish scenes there could possibly be? There's so many levels of difficulty with that. I mean, does he have a right to take those photos of people dying and being in a really bad situation? I mean, if I was in a bad situation, I wouldn't want anyone taking my photo. But then, do these people know that he's letting the world know about their victimisation or struggle?
I love photography, but this other stuff is really too awful to live with, And sometimes people used to say to me, "Do you have nightmares?" And I would say, "No, only in the daytime, when my eyes are open and I'm awake and my memory is, on full alert." So when I love photography, I love being in my darkroom, but even my darkroom is a haunted place. I go in there in that red light, it's like being in a womb. It somehow pleases me, but at the same moment, it takes me down and down and down to where I don't want to go. It's like as if I'm drowning in a very deep ocean.
There is so much guilt in every direction. Guilt because I don't practice religion, guilt because I was able to walk away. While this man was dying of starvation or being murdered by another man with a gun. And I'm tired of guilt, tired of saying to myself, I didn't kill that man. I didn't starve that child. And that's why he photographs more peaceful things now, such as landscapes and still life. Of course, there's a lot to that. You have to get the right angle, you have to get the right moment, the decisive moment. You have to be in the right place, you have to be there in the first place. When I was starting out, I did a lot of protest photography. And some of that in London especially did get quite hairy. But I got the rush from it, I got the adrenaline rush and I loved it. There is a sense of danger. But I felt a bit protected as well because I was doing a journalism. I somehow felt that they won't be bothered by me. And some did, of course, they don't want to be photoed, but a lot of them kind of just ignored the journalists. One time I was between a line of police and quite aggressive protesters, and I was in the middle, and it was so much fun. I felt like I was doing an incredible job. And you do get addicted to that rush. Not that I'm comparing myself to Don McCullin, but I get the rush. Like Loz says in a lot of the videos, he's quite pragmatic. He says content is king, where I'm thinking about depth of field, or shall I use 1.2, 1.4? But like Don says, I never use flash, I don't believe in cropping, and there's no way I'm going to manipulate to get the composition right. He says he's only ever staged one photo, and that was in 1968.
Only the only time I ever did it, but I saw some Americans looting the body of a dead soldier looking for souvenirs and mocking the body and mocking the person. I brought them together and made a kind of montage, but I thought I would make a statement for this soldier. I do have this picture, and I think it says what I was trying to make it say. That, hear me, I'm just, a victim of war. That was, I was trying to say this about this young man.
But some would say his photography and what he exposed was too truthful. In the Falklands War in 1982, the British government didn't send him with their soldiers. They said the boat was full. But in reality, it's obvious that Don McCullin's photography would have exposed too much harsh reality for the people at home, and the British government knew that. And that also represented the changing times of journalism. So with the era of the printing press, they needed adverts to pay for the print. So when a company advertised something, they wouldn't want it on the same page as these brutally honest, harsh, traumatic photos I don't think that would help sell their product. And so his style of photography and his truthful content slowly got sidelined. I need a challenge. My greatest fear is sitting and staring out a window without a passion or anything to do anymore. And yeah, I get that. How would you go from being the height of action, the edge of life, going back to normal life must have been really challenging, and he never really did. He's admitted himself it's been the ruin of his family life and marriage.
It's an awful question to ask you, but do you think that the images you take of horror, of war, actually make anybody change their mind about it?
Well, actually, to be honest, I don't think they have, and I've got very disillusioned. And the people who wrote to me were very young people, and they're the people who care about war. I think the rest of us, the middle-aged, hate to say this, people, they've had war, they've had enough of it. The young people, who are tomorrow's people, they're more interested in trying to do something about it. Mm-hmm. They feel ashamed of it and can't understand it.
He's risked his life, and his photography has been in the limelight and exposed what's going on. These horrible, the worst things happening in the world. He's saying, here it is, this is what's happening. And nothing's really happened as a result of that. Of course, the Vietnam War, the media was a big part of showing what's happening for the first time, really. And that did change the war in Vietnam.
I photographed this giant American. He looked like an athlete, but he was throwing a hand grenade. The picture itself almost defeats the anti-war feeling that I was trying to put across, because he looks the picture of manhood, like a javelin thrower in an Olympic event. Instead of that, he was throwing a hand grenade, which was meant to bring death to others. I dropped on my knees and photographed this man. I shot 5 frames, each one singularly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's not one blink of an eyelid, there's not one change. All those negatives are exactly the same.
But I think since then it's all become a bit desensitized to what's going on. Oh, we all go, that's horrible, I can't believe that's happening. And then we kind of move on. There's nothing, we feel a bit powerless to do anything about it. But I do believe that he liked to think that his photography was doing good. Even when he was out there, and this is a bit of an ethical boundary with journalists, he was out there and he often said he helped people when he could. Like, he took a picture of an old lady trying to walk down the street with bullets flying across. He took the picture and then grabbed her and took her to where she needed to go. And with homeless people on the streets of London that he photographed, he actually helped house them afterwards.
I just held his stare, and I just brought my Nikon camera up to my eye and took this picture, and he never moved an eyelid. I was looking at the bluest eyes you'd ever seen, and his hair was matted. I felt as if I was looking at one of those Neptune images of a man under the sea, with the trident. It was quite extraordinary.
So I've been abroad a few times before in my career, and so I went to Africa with a children's charity to show the good work that they're doing over there with the schools. So the children who got into a school in the slums of Africa in Kenya, it was a lifeline for them. It was an opportunity to get out of the slum. Basically, they were fed and it was safe for them to be, and an education, which is the only way to get out of this slum where there's millions of people all crammed into the same place. And it was really difficult to be there, but at the same time, I did hide behind my camera. I had to put my professional hat on and just thought, this is what I need to do. And it was quite a difficult challenge. It was horrible seeing the situations and the scenes that I seen. And I had to have, when we were in the slums, I had to have an armed guard with me. And when I come back, it kind of hit me then about what I experienced and what I seen. Because it's one thing seeing it on TV and the adverts you often see about how people live, unfortunately. But when you see it in real life, it really does bring it home, and it does haunt you. But then as time went on, you kind of get used to your own life again. And that's the way humans are, I guess. And my work there did help raise awareness on sponsorship for children to get more in that school and give them a lifeline. So that felt great for me. that my photography was used for good, and it did make a difference. And I've also been to Calais a few times to hear the refugee stories about their plight and how they're stuck. And it really is different from what you hear in the news. And it feels great that my art and photography can make a difference.
You have a moral sense of purpose and duty. You have to work out which of those purposes and duty you're there for. It's very difficult to. You want to take this picture and you want to stop it. And suddenly somebody touched my hand and I looked down and it was the albino boy. He was holding my hand. And I thought, well, why are you doing this to me? It was like he'd homed in on me and he was really paining me. He was making me feel so ashamed. So I gave him a barley sugar from my pocket and he went away and he stood at a distance licking this barley sugar.
I think the most inspiring thing for me about him is his drive. I'm not saying we should go to war. I just admire that drive to get out there and do something. But when you do go out there and you speak to people, and that's an important part, is to network for your career and progress, but to really connect with people and really link them in to what you're doing in your art. It's always easy to see history as this amazing thing. Oh my God, I can't believe that happened. It must have been amazing to be there. But we are in history. There's certainly a lot of things going on now in the world, especially over the last few years. There's a lot of stories to be told that aren't being told, that need a voice.
I'm gonna spend the rest of my life trying to eradicate, the things we've been talking about. The English landscape to me is my heaven. It's like all other things. There is always a threat surrounding the things you love. When I hear a chainsaw in the distance here, I think a tree is dying. When I hear shooting, when there's pheasant shooting, I think there's going to be some blood.
We have the privilege of his art and his photography that will be part of history and photography accolade forever. And we really should thank him